Ladies and gentlemen, Palantir Technologies up over 3% today as we're seeing some confidence coming back into the market. We have some exciting articles to talk about covering is Palantir stock a buy right now and how this company could be on the road to become a $1 trillion company by the end of the decade. Now, if you're new to the channel or a returning viewer, hit the like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just collecting the data and dispatching it to you. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of Palantir Technologies. What we do have in terms, like I said, of confidence coming back into the markets is Palantir Technologies up over 3%. In terms of the macroeconomic environment, we have many stocks finishing here in the green, and we have the Dow Jones, S&P just slightly finishing in the green right here, as we have a lot of investors that are kind of sitting on the sideline right now, basically waiting for the expectations on what the Fed is going to do in terms of interest rates. Now, talking about Palantir itself, we have seen resistance at that 20, and this was a psychologic and a basically trading resistance point for Palantir Technologies before we had that recent breakout to the previous 52-week year-to-date high here at 2185. What we do have in terms of options contracts, though, is a lot of implied options volatility around that $20 strike price. In terms of what we have right now, 15,000 in terms of volume for strike prices ending and expiring at the end of this week, and even expirations of next week, still multi-thousand in terms of volume going into the $20 to even the $22 strike price. So we have a lot of buyers that are betting and pushing confidence on Palantir that will increase in trying to test those 52-week year-to-date highs in the near future. In terms of the articles that we do have today, Palantir, one of the most trendy stocks of 2023. I think everybody can agree on that. And what we need to do is take that with a grain of salt and kind of considering some of the key factors that are really influencing Palantir's trading and also its performance that we've had and how 2024 could play out. Before we talk about Palantir's basically track to becoming a $1 trillion company, what we do need to analyze is right now. And with Palantir, what we had to acknowledge is that this stock has been up over 30% over the past month. And we've talked about this in various videos that at any time we could see a correction in Palantir, that the premium that investors are paying for it is at a very high valuation and a profit-taking cascade could happen. But however, we're not really seeing that right now. We did see, of course, that 2185 coming back here into the 19s, but we're starting to settle and you're seeing this confidence coming back in, and especially Palantir here at 30% over the last month, really beating the Zacks S&P 500 composite of over 10%. Now, talking about that in terms of the Zacks rank, if you guys don't know what the Zacks rank is basically ranking these stocks on a scale of 1 to 5. Palantir is sitting at a number 1 right now for a strong buy, even though it's sitting at these 52-week year-to-date highs. And talking about that, what they really do pinpoint and rely on for basically credible information and for predictors is the amount of revisions to earnings estimates. And one thing that Palantir is consistently doing is revising for positive earnings per share momentums and revenue metrics and improving their guidance. We saw this with the last earnings report, and with the next earnings report, Palantir is expected to post earnings of 8 cents per share for the current quarter, and this represents a year-over-year change of 100%. And over the last 30 days, the Zacks consensus estimate has changed in the positive, up by 33.3%. So talking about that, and with the consensus earning estimate of 25 cents for the fiscal year, this indicates a year-over-year change of 316%. So what we're seeing here is this projected revenue growth and earnings per share revisions in the bullish direction. This is why, even though Palantir being a highly valued company in terms of the price to earnings ratio and the valuation that investors are putting behind Palantir and the premium that they're paying for this current stock, this is why we're still seeing the Zacks rank the stock at a number 1 in terms of a strong buy. But talking about that, what we can see in the bottom line right here is really paying attention to the buzz behind Palantir. And this does lead me to the next question and how everybody's taking the bet onto for the future on how this could possibly be one of the AI stocks that could be on track to become a $1 trillion company. Now, that is a very big prediction to actually play out, but really kind of getting into the nitty gritty and running some of the numbers right here, talking about how does Palantir get there from where it's currently at. And if we look at Palantir in terms of its market cap, right now it sits at 42 billion. So this would be a multiple growth X in terms of rate of return for Palantir. Now, talking about that and considering its current valuation and its price to earnings ratio, for the third quarter, what we've seen is revenue continuing to grow 17% year over year to 558 million. And we're seeing commercial revenue growing on top of that governmental revenue, which is what has been basically the majority of Palantir's revenue in the past. But now we're seeing this growth in terms of a commercial basis, mostly because of the AIP boot camp. But what we're seeing is the most significant profit in the company's 20-year history. It's important to know that Palantir, even though it's only been a publicly traded stock over the last 3 years, it's actually been in development and has been working to be a leader in this AI industry over the last few decades. And the fact that right now it has this leading competitive edge in terms of an AI stock and it's profitable, also with S&P 500 inclusion coming here in the near future, this really pinpoints it at a top focus, which is why I think it is one of the most trendy stocks that we're seeing right now. Now, talking about what the company is they're forecasting a full year revenue of roughly 2.2 billion at the midpoint of its guidance. Now, talking about that and with the addressable market of 119 billion, what we do have is Dan Ives here, a Webush analyst, some of these top analysts, they have crunched what the total addressable market is going to be in terms of the AI industry. So with this valuation, talking about this media right here, talking about, hey, how could this become a $1 trillion company, does put a big bet on the AI industry itself and the actual amount of market share that will come into AI. If these projections do turn out to be true, they are predicting that this total addressable market will now be around $800 billion, including the opportunity. What's interesting and exciting to see about Palantir right here is that if the company was just able to capture 7% of that market annually, which is a pretty conservative estimate, I would agree that given the possible opportunity here with AI going into 2024, this could quickly expand revenue from that 2.2 billion that they saw at the midpoint from guidance going up to 56 billion over the next coming decade. And using the company current adjusted operating margin, and this would result in about 14 billion in operating profits. Now, if you encompass and take into effect the actually current trades at 78 times its forward earnings, like I said, maintaining its high valuation, which we have seen among some of the other top blue chip stocks that have continued across their actual maturity into the stock market, this could push the company's growth to about a $1.1 trillion market cap over the next 10 years. So this is what we are seeing, but of course, this is all speculation. And like I said, taking a big bet, not just on Palantir, but in the AI industry in general. And really talking about right here, this article does a great job talking about the fine print. And just to be clear that this is just having fun with numbers, but it does help illustrate one path for Palantir to become a $1 trillion company, and that this is not something that's going to happen overnight, and that there's a lot that would have to go right for in order to achieve a $1 trillion valuation over the next decade or so. There's going to be so many variables that we do not even know about. But talking about that and where Palantir sits right now, it's exciting to think about those kind of numbers, of course, but also it's more important to be realistic on where Palantir is going in terms of the projected revenue growth. And like I said, we're sitting at that 2.22 billion right now, and not just talking about what the future addressable market is of that 800 billion, but what is the addressable market right now? And that's sitting at about right here, 119 billion. So taking in terms of the realistic approach where Palantir is right now with these earnings per share revisions that we do have that are in the bullish directions, talking about the Zacks consensus that's increased here 33%. We have earnings per share predictions for this current quarter going to be at 8 cents, is an increase from the last quarter. And what we saw with Palantir's reaction from the last quarter was incredibly bullish, as we saw this immense gap that was created here, immediately going from 14s up here into the 18s. Palantir was able to hit a reversal here at the 19s, which is why I think in the near future, if we have this confidence that is continuing to come into the markets in terms of the global macroeconomic situations that we are having, Palantir, I think, could easily get back into the 20s and test those year-to-date high now of 21.85. However, if we see any type of concern in terms of the consumer price index, inflation, we see a high premium, right now in terms of the whole global markets. If we see any concern in interest rates, possibly even continuing to increase interest rates at all, we could see this whole market turn into a quick 180, which is why we have a lot of speculation right now and riskiness that is continuing to increase. Because if we look at the S&P 500, just in the last month, it has significantly increased at this November rally that we're calling right now. And how is this going to occur going into December? Of course, the Santa rally. So there's a lot of exciting things happening in the market, especially before 2024. We're going to be keeping a close eye on it for you guys. Take care. Peace out. I'll catch you guys later and have a great night.